Heyo everybody, Haku here with my review for Tower of God Chapter 451, or Season 3, Episode 34. I'm excited to talk about this one. I've been just generally wanting to talk about things more and record more. I don't know, it's just this weird place I'm at right now where I'm like super busy trying to do a million videos, and yet at the same time I'm like, oh man, I really want to talk about this, and I really want to talk about this. So this chapter, I'm excited to talk about it, but though I am excited, there isn't a whole ton to get into. It's pretty simple, straightforward, not too much to discuss. It's kind of a transitional one. We're sort of finishing off the Louie and Deng Deng stuff for now, and moving into what's going to be happening with Yama and Yasracha. Now, of course, that doesn't mean I think all this other stuff is just going to be over at this point, but we're kind of just transitioning over to the Yama stuff for now, it looks like. So starting from the beginning, Louie calls to Baam. And see, something that's very, very interesting about this chapter, to discuss it, is that in a vacuum, I think that the way the Louie and Deng Deng stuff was written here was very, very good. The problem is, like I said, I just haven't really been able to get into the Louie and Deng Deng storyline. There have just been so many other side character storylines that I think have been written much better in the past. So that's just the thing. I think that if the Louie and Deng Deng storyline had felt maybe a bit more unique from some of the storylines we've seen in the past, like Hockney's that I've sort of compared it to a lot, or even somewhat to Doom's, because Doom is involved in all this. But still, I think that if maybe it had been a bit more unique, if maybe it had just stuck out a bit more as being something better rather than something that played a bit of a second fiddle to a lot of the other things that happened this arc, I think that this would have been a great send-off to that storyline. I think in general, even though the storyline itself was a little bit hard to care about, a little bit kind of just shoved in there, and didn't feel completely necessary, either way this was a good send-off. So that's the thing. I've not been a big fan of this story, but I do think the way that it was written in this episode and how it plays into Baam's story and everything was good. So it's kind of a shame. It almost feels like a little bit of missed opportunity. But especially Deng Deng's final message I thought was really good, and I think if it were more well built up to, then yeah, if the story were more well developed, I think that could have been a really big, great moment, because just in general, I can see how it was well written. So yeah, from the beginning, Louie calls Baam. And Baam says he doesn't think there's a way to save Deng Deng. And I love Baam's internal monologue of realizing that, you know what? It's not that I can't possibly save Deng Deng, it's just that I don't want to save Deng Deng enough to cause the death of someone else. Gado cared enough about Louie to not care about throwing other people's lives away, but I don't really have that connection to Deng Deng. I don't want to save Deng Deng at the cost of Louie's life, or at the cost of anyone's life, really. So I think that's interesting for Baam. It's like, faced with this decision of, do I save this person or do I save that person? He kind of says, you know what, it's not my business to save or kill anyone, which is almost a seemingly cold or bad thing to do, but in reality, what's Baam supposed to do? Again, he doesn't know Deng Deng that well to be killing Louie to save him. If anything, like I was saying before, it seems like the more obvious choice would just be to let Louie live. So yeah, and it's going to be one of those situations where either way, whichever one Baam saves, the other one's going to be upset at him. Because if Baam decides not to save Deng Deng, Louie's going to be pissed because he's like, I would have died for Deng Deng. But if he would have ended up using Louie's heart to save Deng Deng, Deng Deng would have been like, why did you do this? Why did you kill my best friend in order to revive me? It won't worth this to me. So yeah, it's just this interesting you're screwed either way situation, so Baam kind of washes his hands of it, which is this really cool Shades of Grey thing in the end. And an interesting thing for the main character to have to go through, really. But Doom recognizes it and is colder to it all. He's like, yeah, I see what the decision you're faced with is here, but don't tear yourself up too much about it, because this is a war, life is a war, and people die in it all the time, and sometimes it's unfair. So Doom is kind of like, yeah, you made the right decision, which is to not really make any decision or to care that much at all. It's not even that he doesn't care, it's that Baam doesn't care enough to make a decision, but he definitely cares in the grander scheme of things, whereas Doom is like, yeah, sucks to suck, man. So Doom decides that he's going to align with Baam against their common enemy, which is what I was saying before, and I actually like this. Rather than seeing Doom or even Kelhelm defeated, I'm totally fine with them just being like, we hate the 10 families, you hate the 10 families, we fought a bit, but screw it, and let's just work together. I'm not sure if the K9 people will want to work with Kelhelm after this, but it's just one of those things where I just sort of feel like rather than them tearing at each other's throats at this point, I'm kind of fine seeing them team up. We get to see Rack and Kun and Jordan and Kanzone, which was nice. And then we have the Deng Deng's final message scene. And like I said, this scene was well written, and I'm a sucker for this sort of scene, the dead character leaving behind this final message. So I think that if the story were more well built up to and developed, this would have been a huge, great, amazing moment. Even how it is, though I don't care that much about the story. Like, I'm not even saying that, oh man, I hate Deng Deng and Louie on screen. It's like, nah, their story's aight. It's just aight to me. So yeah, I think this was a good ending to an aight storyline, to an alright storyline. But I think if it had been built up more, there was the potential there that it could have been an amazing ending to an amazing storyline. So yeah, I do think it was a really, really good ending for this Deng Deng and Louie stuff. Even though I wasn't fully into it, gosh, again, it's one of those things that's hard to describe because everybody wants me to have a strong opinion. Like, sometimes people are like, oh, why didn't you hate this or why didn't you love this? With me, I didn't love or hate the Deng Deng and Louie storyline. I thought it was pretty alright. I think it wasn't as interesting as a lot of the other things that happened in the... That's my two big things. One, it wasn't as interesting as a lot of the other things in the arc, like Yama's storyline, which was great. And two, it was a bit too similar to some storylines we've seen in the past that were handled a bit better. So again, it's one of those things where I do think it was pretty good, it's just, it didn't really appeal to me necessarily, and I do think this is a good ending for it. And the ending kind of brings it around, because I think it does a lot of good things for Baam's character here, having it end the way it did. But to get to the Yama stuff now that was in the back half of the chapter. So Yama kills Collar, and I love the use of his intimidation during this. I really, really do. Where Collar attacked him, and rather than dodging, it makes so much sense in a combat sense. When somebody doesn't know who Yama is, all he has to do, act like he's not going to dodge. Act like he is totally and completely confident. Because if he does that, they're going to hesitate. They're going to say, he's so confident, why isn't he dodging? And that fear is going to make it so that he isn't harmed by their attack anyway. It's a really cool use of his abilities. But he threatens, even after killing Collar, threatens Kal Rahim, look, I don't care about this wall. I'm just going to blow up this wall if you don't send me back to the cage. But Fuchil arrives with Fuchil's armored division, and it's interesting that what Yama thinks looking at them is, they're damn strong, but they're just a baby. And we've seen the strength of someone who could be a division commander. We saw that that Chonhee was at least at the sort of ish level of maybe Yu Hansung and Yuri, who I think are, they should be close to like 1,000 to 500 in the ranking, somewhere in that vast scope. But Chonhee could definitely stand up to their sort of level, though I think in the end, as somebody who's growing and getting stronger and who became a princess, Yuri in the end is the superior of the two. But either way, we saw how strong a division commander can be in that sort of situation, and in the same sort of situation, even though she had backup, how Ari Bright Sharon was able to go toe-to-toe with Evankel, even to the point of where Evankel was having to bring out the the Elephant Susanoo, the sort of full-on ancient summoning that they do. So I do think that it was pretty interesting to note that Fuchil is pretty strong, but they're young enough that Yama would call him a baby, and also as sort of an aside, young enough that they don't recognize who Yama is, and Yama even says, it's a good thing they don't really recognize me. But Yama actually, instead of just fighting or killing Fuchil, just just tries to buy time and talk his way out of it. But then Yusracha shows up, and this is cool. One thing before I get into the flashback that I really liked. Yusracha mentions they were trying to capture a war hero, but they ran into a puppy. Nice slide and everything, but that was making me think, okay, so does that mean that Yusracha had a specific target? By war hero, is Kelhelm the target of Yusracha? Or in capturing or destroying the Wall of Peaceful Coexistence, is there actually a war hero, a specific warrior or something that's sealed in the wall that Yusracha was trying to release from the wall? That line to me was really cool, because it made me think it might be a specific person. It could just be they were after Kelhelm because Kelhelm was going to be defending the wall. But it's totally possible that they're not just trying to take out this wall to take over that territory or to release chaos into the tower in a general sense, but Yusracha might have actually been looking for somebody specific. Maybe they wanted to release one of just their old enemies who might now just cause chaos in a general sense, or it could be that there could be some ancient warrior of Zahards, because warriors from both sides were sealed into the wall. There could be this ancient warrior of Zahard that Yusracha was like, oh yeah, Zahard wants to release them now because they would be a huge help to Zahard's army in the future. So it's cool. We're getting into more of this ancient warrior stuff. But to end off, basically, we have a flashback where Doom, from the time they were young, told Yama and Paul to kill feline people on sight. And it's interesting that one of the branches for the Lopobee is just called the feline people because we have the canine people. But Doom taught them, kill the feline people on sight. But it's interesting to note that Paul said that they didn't know why. He's like, yeah, kill him on sight, but I don't know why, though. So it's interesting that Doom knows something that the other two don't. Doom knows something about the feline people where he's like, yes, you need to kill these people on sight. But he doesn't tell Paul or Yama why, and Paul or Yama don't know why, so there might be some more about their past that Doom knows about, but the other two don't. Which goes into the possibility of like some, I think it was Slayer Nominee's theory of them being potentially one of the branches of the Lopobea family, the canine people that is, or that they could have been some experiments, some sort of blood fusion that the 10 families created. It seems like Doom could know more about whatever their backstory is than the other two do. And lastly, of course, other than telling them to kill the feline people on sight, Doom told them to run if they ever see Yusracha, or they'll die. So again, that hypes up Yusracha like crazy if Doom is like, yeah, run or you die, even to people like Yama and Paul, who of course were younger at the time. But still, if Yusracha was that strong all the way back then, it's insane to think of how strong they could be now. But then again, when you think about it, when it comes to the squadron commanders, the only other one we've seen, the only other one we have to compare to is Calivan. And Calivan was just tossing nukes, really. Calivan handled a top 100 threat relatively easily when fighting Ha Jinsung. So Calivan's crazy strong. He has the essence of Meathead going on. So if we're to compare Yusracha to that, Yusracha could be like one of the strongest people in the tower, period, potentially. I know I've said that about Kelhelm because of the crazy stuff Kelhelm did, but yeah, it's just, we're getting into this stuff where I need to see a legit CU canon top 100 ranking to see how this all works out. But even then, if we did get a canon top 100 ranking, we had the blue hole, and that includes Kelhelm, so we wouldn't even then get to truly know everything. But yeah, that's where the chapter ended. Some of the blog post stuff. So you mentioned that failing to save someone that they had reached their hand out to and said, yeah, I'll save you, is an experience that Baam needed to have. Now, I think, of course, having the main character fail is a very valuable experience for them to have. So you said something, though, about like it being like, though I thought a lot of people wouldn't think it would be hard to sort of immerse themselves with the character or whatever with this being the case, so I was careful about it. And I was like, no, people mess up, people fail, people try to do things and things don't work out. So yeah, interestingly enough there. But yeah, anything else from the blog? No, that was pretty much the only important thing, I think. I think it's good, though. I think that that's a very good thing that Baam experienced that he reached his hand out and said, yeah, I'm going to save you, and then he didn't do it. It's a very good thing to see the main character try to do something and then fail, because now we get to see how Baam grows from that mistake. Whether he decides that, okay, next time when I say that I'm going to save somebody, I'm going to really make sure that I can actually do it. Or if next time he runs into a situation like this, he's going to be hesitant about offering to help right away. So there's two possible things that could be really cool, that how this could shift Baam's character a little bit. In general, I did think it was a good chapter. I think that in a vacuum, without me not really caring about how the earlier Deng Deng and Louie stuff went, the Deng Deng and Louie stuff here I think was really good in a vacuum. And I think generally it's very good for Baam's character at the least, even if Louie doesn't continue on in the story. And I don't know if he will or not. Will he stay with the canine people? Will he be like, well, I have nowhere else to go but with Baam now? It's interesting because we don't really know how strong Louie is or isn't, or anything like that. Presumably he's not all that particularly strong. But maybe because of Deng Deng's heart he could be. It's interesting. It is. I say that word a lot, I know. But I think when we get to points like this in the story, these are always some of my favorite points and some of the most difficult to talk about points too in any story I cover on the channel, where we're like, okay, we just sort of finished up with this plot line, so I don't know what to say about it because we just sort of finished up with it. But it's the most exciting point for me for that plot line, because now we could go anywhere next. So I think that's very cool. Yama's a very fun character. I always really love reading all of the Yama stuff. And the chapter as a whole, I think it was kind of a chill, kind of a light chapter. I ended up droning on a lot about it just because I wanted to talk about things. So I ended up talking a lot more than maybe I should have. But I'm going to go ahead and end things off. I don't like to rush videos either, so I don't know. But I'd give it 7.5. 7.5. Final messages out of 10, because yeah, I thought it was good chill chapter. We have the Yama stuff that's kind of building up for the future, but that I really liked, and we have the Deng Deng and Louie stuff, which though I didn't previously get like super invested in, this was definitely a good way to end it off. So I think 7.5 is very fair. It was pretty good, pretty dang good. But yeah. Sorry about that one. Either way, like if you did like the video, comment down there to tell me what you thought of this chapter, what you thought of my thoughts on it and all that. Subscribe for more. Tower of God, much more on the channel. Follow on Twitter if you want. I can try to keep you updated there and stuff for the channel or talk to you there. And if you'd like a link to our Discord server to talk to me or more of us on Discord, just ask and I can give you a link. That's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.